Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Amy, we're live.
Hey, Justin.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're just gonna let um, this go for a second so it'll notify like more people that we're online.
Okay.
But so we'll do that. Do you have your coffee ready?
I have got my coffee ready to go. How about you?
Me too. Yeah, I have
I like
my
your mug.
coffee. Thanks. Anytime I can put a J on something, I'll do it.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we can go ahead and get started. I know we have a lot to talk about today. So, everyone, welcome to Coffee with the Curator. This is our series where we sit down and chat with the curator from the Museum of Fine Arts Houston over a cup of coffee. My name is Justin Tisdale. I am the person behind Twitter, social media for the museum, and today we have an amazing guest. We have Curator of Art of the Islamic Worlds, Dr. Aimée Froom. So Dr. Froom has over 20 years of international curatorial and teaching experience in Islamic art. When she came to Houston in 2014, she expanded the museum's galleries of Islamic art, and now there are over 300 works of art from the Islamic lands on permanent view at the museum. So she recently published a book, Bestowing Beauty, Masterpieces from the Persian Lands, the Hossein Afshar Collection with Yale University Press in 2019. I have the book right here. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Justin, and really great appreciation for all that you and Priya and the entire team do. It's been wonderful. So I'm happy to
Thank
be a
you.
part of this.
Thank you so much. We're going to jump right into this. Art of the Islamic Worlds is a relatively new department. Tell us a little bit about how that kind of came into existence. And we have some images that we'll also be able to show. So just let me know and I'll pop them up for you.
Sure, you can pop up the first one if you want to.
Okay.
And I'll just get started talking. So, we are the youngest department at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, Art of the Islamic Worlds. It was an initiative that was started in 2007. So, we're over a decade old under the previous director, Peter Marzio. And then it was taken up very enthusiastically by our current director, Gary Tintero. It's an initiative that's really Houston born and bred by local Houstonians who are very devoted and dynamic and members of our subcommittee and Houstonians from all over the world who have settled here in Houston. So what you're seeing on the screen actually is one of our newest acquisitions purchased in January at our biennial gala, which really helps support our department and our initiative. This is a 19th century Ottoman Turkish silk and wool bocha. It's a covering, although you'd probably want to put it on a wall and not on a table. It's very, very precious. This
How big is it?
it is a little over 5 feet square, so it's
Okay.
really impressive when you look at it. It's a showstopper on the wall, and this was purchased by our MFAH guild and docents in honor of their 40th anniversary. So this was a really special, extra special gift. And what I love about it is that those floral patterns, the really exuberant, dynamic floral patterns that you see, are directly related to the Rococo textiles of Italy and France at the same time. So this speaks to global trade that goes back many more centuries. But it's really, our interconnected globe and making connections, which is something we're always trying to do. So,
It's a
and then
beautiful piece. It's
thank
very
you.
like vibrant, the colors in it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're putting it on view. Um, so our initiative really spans the globe, Islamic lands from the 8th, 9th century up until the present day, all over the globe. And we're really trying to be as inclusive as we can. And so we have a very strong acquisition and display and exhibition program. And we also are very fortunate that we have some very strong international partnerships. And so when I was brought on board, it was to expand our collection of art from the Al-Sabah collection. And we have nearly 200 works from them. Great. So this is an Ottoman Turkish prayer carpet from the 16th century. And you would use this pointed in the direction of Mecca to help orient your prayer, although you don't need to have a prayer carpet. And what you see in the middle there is one of my favorite works, is a mosque lamp that is suspended. And that really speaks to the chapter and verse 24 and then the verse 35 in the Quran about light, the light of God being like that, the light in a lamp, and this is suspended within a niche. So I think it's a really beautiful metaphor, and it's also really nice to be thinking about it now, which is actually the time of the month of Ramadan, a time of reflection especially. So I had the great honor and pleasure to install this with my fabulous colleagues. Shout out to Sue in Kuwait and Giovanni Curatola and the rest of our MFAH team. So that was really special. And then the other international partnership we have is with the Hossein Afshar Collection that we'll be talking about. And I did want to mention, I've got it right in front of me, we did publish a book of the Al-Sabah collection, what's on view too, which is
So you published two books about the collection. I know that we're here to talk about Bestowing Beauty. So tell us a little bit more about the Afshar catalog.
Sure. So Mr. Hossein Afshar has been collecting primarily Persian art from Persian Lands. He's been collecting for over 50 years, and we're very fortunate to have on long-term loan many works of art from his collection. So from beautiful miniature paintings, carpets, textiles, metalwork, ceramics. The book cover you're looking at right now is actually an actual book cover. It's painted, but it's not on paper. It's on paper mache covered with a clear varnish. It's what we call lacquer, but it's not like East Asian lacquer. This is really, it's called bookbinder's lacquer. And actually the clear varnish is derived from bow gloss in the 15th century. So the collection is amazing. And we created an exhibition and a catalog based on some of the most important signature works from the collection. And so that's what the book is about.
So how did you select the works and the themes to this book?
Oh, well, that's, how do you sum up 1,000 years of extraordinary visual culture from Persian Lands? We did a lot of looking with my team, a lot of thinking. I think it's really, really important to look, and it's when you do close, careful looking that you really start to see and put things together and make connections. And we noticed that a lot of the same themes kept coming up: faith, piety, love, longing, earth and nature. And a lot of these are very, very prominent in Persian literature as well, and poetry. And then we started to think even more, and we realized, these are universal themes. Let's organize the exhibition around this. And so it was really faith and piety, love and longing, earth and nature, the art of the word, which is extremely important in Islamic art. And so it was a lot of fun to put together.
So I got this book via contactless delivery, much like my Uber Eats that I get. And when I got it, I was like, this is giant. This is a huge collection. How long did it take you to do this? And who all did you work with to get this book done?
Yeah, so I'll pull my copy too. So it is, yeah, it's thick, it's big, it's got lots of images too and lots of text. It took us a couple years. It really did take a village. It took 10 authors. I contracted with 10 great scholars from around the globe, 5 core curatorial departments, so curatorial, conservation, our registrars, prep, mount makers, and many more departments. Photography, especially photography. I could spend hours in the studio with Will and Tom just looking at the suspended glaze on a ceramic bowl. It's really
I
insane.
mean, it really did take a
It
village to
did. And then
do.
we had great contract workers as well. Our mat maker, that's very specialized, and then our book designers who are in New York. A shout out to Rita of Miko McGinty. It was amazing to work with them, and honestly, it was. Putting the book together for a lot of aspects was very much work from home, remote before the pandemic. We were in many different, I think 5 different time zones. So it was extraordinary. Our book designers in New York, the printer in New Hampshire, um, editor in Florida. It was great.
Did you learn anything new while researching the book?
So much. You think you know everything, you actually don't. And then you start researching a book and you realize how little you know. One thing I realized is that there are a lot of birds in the collection and I know nothing about birds. I was hopeless. And I was talking with my volunteer and I said, I can't figure out how to identify these birds, but I know that we can, because a lot of the birds were painted by Indian painters under Jahangir and Shah Jahan under the Mughal Empire. And those emperors especially were extremely interested in the naturalistic representation of all flora and fauna. And so it was my volunteer who said, well, why don't we just try the zoo? It's practically next door. And so we have so many fabulous resources in Houston. I just sent this email out to Curator of Birds, Chris Holmes, just crossing my fingers he would answer and not think I was crazy. Not only did he answer, he sent back photos of contemporary birds, their taxonomic families and their names, and then their flight paths. It was incredible.
So, not a lot of people know this, but me and Aimée actually we share a relationship with Christopher. He's one of my best friends, so shout out to Christopher for
Yay!
helping. And I know that we also have some images that
Yes.
we can show. So, um, how did you and Chris connect on this book?
Okay, so this was exciting because this was puzzling to him. What you're seeing actually is a detail. So this is a detail of an album page. It has beautifully calligraphed verses of poetry from Nizami. Those are the little black dots that you see part of. And then it's been embellished with these amazing miniature paintings of birds. And so I had given him the information that, it's Persian poetry, but the painter is Indian. This was done in India. And so he had that to go on. And he said, this bird is not native to India whatsoever. This is a Chinese golden pheasant. And he said, do you think it could have been given as a gift? And I said, well, yeah, very definitely. Diplomatic gifts took the form of art. They took the form of animals and birds. And so it wasn't at all surprising that this could have been something that the artist would have seen in India. So that was fascinating to both of us.
So, have Chris's bird identifications changed the way that you look at the art? Like, were there any surprises in the
Yeah.
identification of birds?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So if you want to pull up the next slide, I'll show you. So I was feeling a little more advanced in my bird identifications, and I asked him for confirmation. I said, "Well, this looks like a common green magpie. It wasn't as hard as the Chinese golden pheasant to identify." And I love this painting, and I gave it a prominent place in the exhibition. I thought this is such a sweet bird. It's an 18th century Persian painting. It's got beautiful verses of poetry. It's around it. It's another one of these album pages. And I thought, this is such a sweet little green bird. And he said,
It's a
you're
really
right.
beautiful bird.
You're right. This is a common green magpie. But I have to tell you, these birds are actually really raucous and antisocial. We don't have them at the zoo. So I can't really look at the bird the same way again. Actually, I do, but I probably wouldn't want to hear how raucous and antisocial it is.
So we've had a couple of questions come in, and I want to get a chance to give some people um, a chance to ask. Let's go ahead. Let me see what we have here. Um, okay. So S. Craig 220 asks, what is on the wall behind you?
Oh, thanks. So this is, I hope you can all see part of it at least. This is a painting that's done by a great friend of mine, an artist named Katie Daniels, who lives in New York City. And she and I met when she was the technician of the Islamic art department at the Metropolitan Museum. So she was working full time there and then painting at night, early mornings, weekends, whenever she could. And it's a painting actually that I have to think must be influenced by her time there, because it has a lot of geometric patterns to it, bright colors. It really reminds me of some of the greatest patterns of Islamic art. And then she's also added bird feathers to it. So it's a piece
Oh
of
yeah, that is
memories
bird
from her.
feathers.
So they're not real. They're some of them are painted, some of them are fake, but it is painted on a raw linen canvas. So it's a very special memory.
Awesome. So I know one of the questions that came through on the comments, I think someone saw your coffee mug or your coffee cup and they wanted to know a little bit more about the coffee
Oh,
cup.
sure. Okay. So I hope you can see it. I see lots of questions scrolling through, but this
Yeah.
is the coffee cup. So it's got a rose on it and it has this kind of almost Baroque pattern to it. It has special significance to me. I bought it when I was doing my dissertation research work in Vienna, Austria, of all places. My dissertation's on an Ottoman Turkish album that was made for the grandson of Suleiman the Magnificent at the end of the 16th century. And actually, this is an example also of a diplomatic gift. It was given to the Emperor Franz Joseph in the 19th century. So it became part eventually of the Royal Library, which is now the National Library in Vienna, where it sits in the stores of the rare book room. And so I went to go study this album, which is filled with miniature paintings, drawings, and calligraphies, mainly Persian and Ottoman Turkish and a few Indian things as well, but to really study it. And so I spent several months there. My German is not very good. I had to learn it as a reading language, and it's completely different when you have to speak. I had the courage to go into this one store where I'd been admiring their, coffee cups and services, and so I went in and bought this using my German, and then I probably, brought it home, and it's traveled with me since then. But it's always on a high shelf in a cabinet. I'm afraid to use it. And then since we've been in our, stay at home working remotely, I thought, what am I waiting for? Why don't I just start using it? So I've been using it every day and
Do you want to
enjoying it.
bring it closer to the camera so people can
Yeah,
see what it
yeah.
looks like up close?
Yeah, so it's got this rose on it. It's called the Vienna rose pattern, the Wiener and rose pattern. And it brings me joy.
That's really awesome. So we have another question. Let's go and pull this one up. What is required to preserve the materials from these pieces?
Oh, for conservation.
Yeah.
Well, we're very fortunate under Per Canutas, who's our head of conservation. We have an amazing team, and we actually have a new facility. So we're currently expanding at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, our campus. We started with the Glisel Art School. That was a couple years ago, and then over a year ago, we opened the Sarah Campbell Blaffer Center for Conservation, and this is amazing because we were able to unify for the first time all of our conservation units. So one size does not fit all. So for example, the cover of the book, the lacquer would be conserved by a very specialized conservator who knows how to deal with both paintings and objects. A carpet needs a textile conservator. An oil painting, we have a very specialized paintings conservator. So it's really a conversation between the conservators with their technical knowledge and then the curator who brings in both historical knowledge and current research. And that's what I love about working in a museum, is that we are very collaborative and we all work together, bringing our different perspectives. That's what was also so important about the book, is that everyone brings a fresh pair of eyes, a different perspective, from our photographers to our conservators, even the map maker discussing different locations.
I recently had an opportunity to go and tour the conservation center, and Pear and his team are doing like really great work over there. They are amazing.
Oh yeah, very definitely. Yeah.
I know that you will have to go soon. I know that you're meeting or talking with our fearless leaders. So I just wanted to thank you again for talking about the book and about art of the Islamic world. So if anyone wants to know more about this, we'll put a link in the bio for Art of the Islamic World and Bestowing Beauty. Is there anything that you want to plug before we head out?
I would just like to say thank you so much to everyone. Thank you especially to you, Justin and Freya, for organizing these coffee with the curator. And then I would just love to see everyone eventually in the galleries. I think we have such a special city, Houston, and the museum is such a part of the city's fabric that I just feel really grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And until next time, bye everyone.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.